All right, welcome to the review for day one Python Intro to Python class. What I'd like to do here is after every single day, I'm going to have about 10 questions or so related to the content that you should have learned that day. Now, I'm going to play it as a Kahoot. I'm going to be the one here answering my own questions, but I want you to just watch the video and mentally take notes of what you think the answers are and just keep your own mental score. So you don't have to worry about signing up for the Kahoot or anything. You're just going to watch the video, and I'm going to go ahead and play. With that, let's go ahead and get started and see how much you learned from your day one Intro to Python class. What data type starts with a quote? Is that an integer, a floating point number, a string, or a Boolean? All right, that is a string type. And remember, it doesn't matter if it starts with a single quote or starts with a double quote. What matters is that whatever it starts with, it also has to finish with. But a string is just a series of what we call UTF encoded text, right? It can be numbers, letters, special characters, emojis, whatever UTF-8 supports. All right, question number 2. Which IDE, Integrated Development Environment, is installed by default when you install Python? Is that the IDLE, PyCharm, JupyterLab, or VS Code? Which one comes installed by default when you install Python? All right, IDLE comes installed by default. It's the simple interpreter that doesn't give us a lot of frills and thrills that we can do with an integrated development environment, but it is functional and we can run commands and test simple output. So that's what comes installed by default with Python. Of course, we installed PyCharm. We also installed JupyterLab. And for those of you that were curious, also should have installed VS Code or maybe even Visual Studio. Those are more full-featured integrated development environments. All right, question number 3. Which arithmetic operator gives the remainder after a division has been performed? Is that the floor operator with 2 forward slashes? Is that the rem with an ampersand? Is that remainders is only done in C++ and we can't do it in Python? Or is it the mod operator with the % sign? All right, modulus operator gives us the remainder once we've done the division. Floor operator is a rounding, but it always rounds down. So I do the division and then I just round down whatever the division is. Rem with ampersand, that is just totally made up. That is not a valid arithmetic operator. And of course we can do it because we have modulus operator in Python. Now it's the same operator in C++. So if you're in C++ writing code, you can also use the ampersand to do the remainder. All right, question number 4. Python is compiled to machine code. Is that true or false? When I write Python code, does it get compiled down to machine code? Right, and that's a false statement, right? So Python is an interpreted language, meaning we have to install the Python interpreter. That's what we did when we went to python.org, and that allows us to run our code as source code directly on the machine. So we don't actually have to compile it down to machine code, we run it through an interpreter. Question number 5. Which company makes the PyCharm integrated development environment? Is that Anaconda, Linux, JetBrains, or Python? Oh, I didn't get it in time. Yes, I meant to click JetBrains. JetBrains is the integrated development environment that makes PyCharm. They also make a bunch of other developmental tools, that's really good for software development. So if you're writing Java code, if you're writing C++, C#, definitely check out the JetBrains website for all the cool tools that they have to help you make your job a lot easier. Okay, what environment variable needs to be set for Python? Is that the path variable for Windows? Is that the none type variable? Is that any variable that starts with an underscore? Or is it Python 3.11? Which variable needs to be set? That is correct. It's the path environment variable that we set on Windows, and that's how we determine which instance or which interpreter we're going to run based on the precedence we set in our path variable. Question number 7. Python can add a string and an int together. Is that true or false? That is a false statement. So when Guaido was writing this program, he thought it doesn't really intuitively make sense to have a string and an int added together. So he said, we're not going to allow that, and we'll cause that to be an error. Other programming languages, we saw in C#, for instance, I could add a string and an int together. What it does is it converts the integer to a string and just adds them as two strings together. So behind the scenes, it's actually converting it for us. Python doesn't do that. It says, you probably didn't intend to do that, so we're going to raise an error and notify you that you've done something wrong. Question number 8, it's a multi-select, so you're going to choose 3 options. Comments in Python are used to help explain code, to speed up the execution of the code, make code more readable, or the fourth one is prevent execution when testing. Yep, so Python comments, which start with a £, we can use to help explain the code that we're writing. We can use it to make code more readable, so we kind of give clues to other software developers that are looking at our code or other people that are going to use our code what our intended line of code is supposed to do, what our statement is intended to accomplish. And last, I can also use it when I'm testing to block out a certain amount of code and not run code over and over and over again that I don't need to. I can speed up my testing by commenting out sections of code that I don't want to rerun. All right, question number 9. Floating point numbers have infinite precision. Is that true or false? All right, floating point numbers do not have infinite precision. We have to represent them the best we can in a finite amount of space, but numbers that are infinite can't be represented by finite numbers of ones and zeros. So we have to have some rounding issues eventually. All right, question number 10. This question is an example of a Boolean choice. True or false? Now, this is kind of a fun question. If we remember what a Boolean is, all right, that is true. Remember, Boolean is logical. It's a 0 or a 1 or a true and a false. So having true and false as an example, that is definitely a Boolean choice. All right, my favorite question, number 11. It's always going to be a fun question. Question is, I am enjoying this class so far. Your choices are not really, but I'm really desperate to learn Python. Kinda, but this delivery is dry and boring. Or is it C, yes, I'm going to like and subscribe to YouTube? Or is it D, not at all, I hate this class? Well, my goal and my hope is that you're enjoying the class and that you like and subscribe to the video. But I know this is not for everybody. I hope you enjoyed this review session and got something out of it. If you weren't able to get a high enough score, again, it's all self-graded, go back and watch the videos again and see if you can get a better score next time. All right, I will see you all for day 2.